People whose first relationship was very long term. What weird thing did you believe was normal until you started seeing other people? I texted my then new girlfriend about where I was and who I was with about every 30 minutes. After the third time, she told me that she didn't need to get updates on what I was doing and to just let her know when I got home safe. I remember feeling almost a physical weight being lifted off my chest because I didn't have to worry about my girlfriend freaking out if I didn't update her. I learned what trust felt like that night. I'm actually amazed at how many married couples are this way. I just thought it was common sense to trust your spouses doing what they said they were doing. No point in being crazy until there is a reason to be. In the words of my shrink, worrying doesn't change the outcome. It applies in a lot of situations. Your partner should actually make an effort to spend time with you. You shouldn't have to surprise them to spend any time with them. This makes me sad. Yeah, it sucked. I enjoyed the time I did manage to spend with her so much though that I couldn't end things. I don't blame her though. She was struggling with depression and it was difficult for her to find the energy to do anything. That some girls in a relationship don't like to kiss as often as others. I'm just talking about pecs, when I/GF gets home etc. I always enjoyed a hello kiss, but I guess some girls don't. I would lick the side of my first girlfriend's face like a dog and she loved it. My second girlfriend slapped me when I tried it. Edit, my first gold. Thanks. I was not expecting so many people would relate to that. It wasn't super long term, only about a year, but when you're in high school that's fairly long term. My ex was a very clingy dude, sweet but would follow me around every social gathering and get jealous of me spending time with my friends. When I started dating the guy who is now my husband, I remember looking around at a party early on of mostly my friends that he hadn't met before, and I couldn't find him. I asked someone where he was, and he was out by the fire with a group of people chatting and hanging out. I was astonished that we could just go our separate ways in a social setting, and that was totally fine. We didn't have to be attached at the hip the whole time. As a clingy guy trying to not be, what would you say is the appropriate amount of time to be with your partner v friends at a party? Don't think of it as appropriate amount of time. If you are hanging out and chatting along with your girl, that's cool. But if you are just standing there while she is talking, that is being clingy. Also depends on the setting. If you're at a party where you know everyone and she doesn't know very many people, it may not be appropriate to leave her alone at all. It doesn't hurt anyone to talk about it first. If both know everyone at the party, split up and trust each other. This is morbid, but I thought it was normal to argue every day. I thought all couples have their bickering, and it was just a regular thing. I was astounded when I went into my next relationship and actually got on with the guy and went weeks and weeks without having any issues. It always felt like the bubble was going to burst. Goes to show, don't stay in a relationship just because you've already invested a ton of time. You get one life, spend it with someone who makes you laugh every day. My parents' relationship was like this. When I met my current partner, I told him I would never get married because I don't see the point in being stuck in an argument for the rest of my life. His response was, okay, well, if we communicate, I don't see why we would be always arguing. I didn't get it and didn't want to get into it. One day we were communicating and the conversation was intense, not even arguing/raised voices, and he said, let's take a break from this. I'm feeling frustrated, and I just sat there dumbfounded like, what? You aren't gonna yell at me? Glad you found each other. People's love languages are all different. It's especially jarring when you have a lot of experience doing things a certain way and then finding out that isn't what somebody else needs. It can take some work to figure out what's inherent to yourself and what was learned from your partner. This is super valid, and I feel like it applies to other types of relationships too. That every time was essentially a quickie, almost a whole decade of nothing but 5 thrusts and then blast off. After that relationship ended, I felt like Jasmine on a magic carpet ride, a whole new world. I tried to change her. That was my emotional insecurity. My bad, Melissa. You're not my ex, but my name is Melissa. I still have to regularly deal with my ex who maintains that our loan was the cause for the demise of our relationship. Seeing this was weirdly cathartic. I'm a Melissa too, and I understand this, and have lived this. I thought most guys liked having their nipples played with, because my first ex did. My second boyfriend was so confused when I started licking his titty mayo. I think most women inherently assume this, because it feels good for their nipples to be played with. And I think a lot of relationships have a conversation somewhere along the lines of what you had with your second BF. My ex actually got mad at me when I was trying to get her off my nipples. I told her it didn't do anything for me, and she insisted on keeping trying. Kiss my neck or my ears, but my nipples don't do anything for me. Homie, if it does something for her to lick your nipples, and it doesn't particularly bother you, then let her. Just a SFW remark. Her father hating me. I just thought this was normal, but in the subsequent 3 relationships, last one turning into a marriage and family, the parents were kind, and I couldn't believe that is possible. Sorry, I don't have any NSFW things. All the girls were very open to experiments. Same thing for me, man. Granted, it was a high school relationship and I figured he just hates me cause I'm a high school boy and he knows what high school boys want. But no, the level of malice he poured out on me was far beyond typical father protecting his daughter levels. She eventually dumped me after he threatened to kick her out of her family. In a happy relationship now with an awesome girl whose whole family is a ton of fun. So it worked out for the best. Don't know, never saw anyone else. Married her. Edit, as a neat side effect, we do tons of stuff I'm sure other people would think is really weird. Thank you for this glimmer of happiness in an otherwise depressing thread. My ex basically taught me that it wasn't okay for me to be upset about things. Every time I would get my feelings hurt, even when I was upset about something completely unrelated to him, it was somehow flipped around. So I ended up reassuring and comforting him. That shit really messed me up, and I basically had to relearn how to be vulnerable with my so. He also had a very solid plan of how he expected me to live my life. Basically his main goal for me was to have kids and be a good housewife. Yikes. On the bright side, nowadays I'm happily engaged and my fiance treats me with so much love and respect. He's supportive of my dreams and we are able to lean on each other in times of hardship. Actually thinking about the future was a big thing. Since we got together in high school there always seemed to be this idea in the back of my head that this was going to end eventually, and because of that I never really looked at anything like a future together. When we graduated it was just too comfortable to break up, and even though things were fine enough to stay, it was a drag that never ended, because I just never really thought of them as the person I wanted to be with forever. It's hard to say when exactly I stopped loving her, but it was a relationship of comfort and convenience more than anything, and when she eventually cheated on me and broke us up, it was still just so easy to get back together on and off after that I could feel myself falling back into a commitment I didn't want to be a part of. Now it's wild to actually think about a future with my partner. I genuinely look forward to stuff like maybe living together or getting married and seeing the world and all that romantic stuff. Before everything was more or less convenience, but I had no idea how great it was to actually look forward to potential life events with someone else. Crying all the time. She would use tears to the point of manipulation. This was in high school BTW. I thought that was just a girl thing but no way. My current GF and I have been dating for 3.5 years and she only cries when she's in pain or having a panic attack. Both of which are not my fault and I can help her through. Damn, I thought every girl cried like 3 times a day. If any of you are dating a Kendra from Southern California, get the hell away. Wait, not everyone wants commitment. I always look to the future. It was nice that the guys I dated in between my long relationships were kind enough to break it off when they realized what I was really after though. My first boyfriend was so ridiculously clingy. Like if we were in bed together we would have to cuddle otherwise he would cry and think that I was mad at him, when in reality I was just hot and wanted some space. I just thought that's what relationships were. My relationship now is nothing like that. It is so nice to be in the same room, but doing completely separate things, and not have to worry about each other.